Hello, and welcome to another review from Class 47 Peter. And in today's review we're going to be having a look at a Bachmann model, as you can see. And today we're going to be having a look at the Peppercorn A1. Now I'm sure you're thinking at this point, well, haven't you already done a review on the Peppercorn A1? Well, yes I have. But that particular model I reviewed last time, 60134 Fox Hunter, I no longer have, because I have sold it. I've sold that model to get this one, which this particular A1 here is 60161 North British, which is a model I've been after for a long time now. But I finally got my hands on one, which this model came from Rails of Sheffield, from their eBay account, which I bought for £99, which I think is a bargain. And, well, to be honest with you, 60134 Fox Hunter, it wasn't model I renumbered and renamed because it wasn't that model to begin with. It was Great Eastern. Well, that was the name of the locomotive anyway. And to be honest with you, I was never 100% happy with that model, and so I decided to sell it off. However, I did give it one last hurrah before selling it. I had it running around the layout with some Pullman coaches, and I shall be uploading that video. But because this video has been waiting around on my computer for a while now, I thought I'd get this video up first before the last hurrah video for Fox Hunter. So I shall be uploading that video after this review. So that's something to look out for. But anyway, enough with all this chit chat. Let's get on with the review, because that's what we're here for. So first of all, we'll start with the unboxing, which this is the old style Bachmann packaging with the polystyrene tray. I may not be a big fan of this packaging, but it's certainly more ideal than the plastic packaging, to be honest with you. But there we go. So in the box we have a card sleeve with a photograph of a real A1 on the front. And then on the back we have a drawing of the locomotive and some brief history as well. You can pause and read that if you want to, I'm not going to stop you. And then we also have the paperwork in the box. This is going to be the usual stuff we're all used to seeing. We have a guarantee for a start. Someone's already signed it there. Well, then again, this model was second hand anyway. But I don't think it's ever been run though. But there we go. Then we have the Collector's Club flyer, which I am still currently at this point in the Bachmann Collector's Club. And then we have the instruction sheet for the locomotive, or spare sheets it's say rather, because this sheet is mostly an exploded diagram of all the parts that you get with the locomotive, and it's there so that if you lose a part or one gets damaged or whatever, all those little numbers by the side of that specific part you can order Bachmann's spares section on the website. Although it does mention running in as well. But that's more or less about it, to be honest. So I'll put that in my folder of my instructions later. Now we're going to come on to the detail parts that are in the box. But just look at that model, that looks stunning. So we'll take out a detail bag there from the top of the box. And there's another just in the cab of the locomotive, so we'll fetch that out and have a look at the parts. So in these detail bags we get some brake rods to fit on the tender and the loco, some drain cocks for the cylinders, which could do with some painting, but I shall be doing that later. Some screw link couplings, dummy ones at that. Some electric headlights to go on the front of the locomotive. Some brake pipes for the loco and the tender. Some LNER styled lamps to go on the front of the locomotive, if you want to add them, that is. Some cab doors. And last but certainly not least, some footsteps for the locomotive. Now we're going to get the model out of the box. So first of all we'll get the locomotive out. There is a finger hole in the back, so You just push your finger through it and then just leaves the locomotive out. Then we fetch out the tender. Then we'll put the box to one side, or what's left of the box, I should say. And then we remove these foam sheets from both the locomotive and the tender. And we can now have a look at the model in detail. So first of all, we will look at the locomotive, and we'll save the tender till last. So first of all, we're going to start with the weight of the model. And this is a heavy locomotive, so there's plenty of weight in it. So we're not going to have any problems with traction or this model pulling trains. It's got enough weight in it for it to pull anything, because without the weight it won't be able to pull anything, let alone itself. Which is why the weight is important in these models. Moving on to the detail now. So first of all, we have sprung buffers on the front of the loco. Don't have much care for these, but they're there anyway. Moving on to the buffer beam detail, we have A1 and Haymarket printed on the front of the buffer beam there, very crisply printed as well. We also have a coupling hook, and just at the side of that we have a hole for the brake pipe to fix into. We have an M coupling in the front of the loco, so you can remove it and swap it for something else if you want to, and you can just see in front of that we have some guard irons. We also have some holes in the running board there for those electric headlamps to fit into. But on the running board itself, we do have some rivet detail, which is an excellent piece of detail to have because it makes the model more realistic. We also have quite a bit of detail on the smoke box door, which includes a moulded piece of square plastic made to look like an electric headlight. And also just underneath that we have a separately fitted lamp iron. We have a number plate for the locomotive, which the locomotive's running number is crisply printed on that. And underneath that we have a separately fitted metal handrail. We also have separately fitted smoke box door darts. We also have the smoke box door hinges as well, which we can't forget. We've got this little bit of detail which acts as a step so the crew can climb up onto the top of the loco. We have a shed code that reads 64A, and that's crisply printed, and that's the shed code for St Margaret's, which was a shed on the eastern region, of course, being this is an eastern region loco. And then we have this piece of detail, which I don't know what it's for. It might be an air tank of some sort, but I'm not 100% certain on that, but it's there and it looks nice. We also have a double chimney. It looks very nice, but I have to say though, this chimney is actually a bit wrong, because the chimney should be a little bit bigger from what I've seen in the pictures. But having said that, it doesn't detract entirely from the model, and you can still fit a smoke generator unit in there if you want to, but it's not my thing. But it still looks nice, even if it's not a 100% accurate chimney, but it still looks nice. We have also got the nameplates crisply printed on the sides there on the smoke deflectors, which looks nice, but you can find some extra ones from various websites if you wish to add them, but I'm not going to bother. We also have some rivet detail on the smoke deflectors as well. Just behind the smoke deflectors you can see the outer steam pipes there, very nice bit of detail there to have. Then we come on to the cylinders, which are very nice. We have some rivets on there as well, which looks very nice, and again makes the model more realistic with details like that. Moving on to the bogie frames, which have rivet detail on them, and also the frames of the locomotive, there's rivets on those as well. I can never get tired of all the outside motion parts, and I just love seeing it move on the model like it does on the real thing, and I can't wait to see all this move on the model. We also have some sanding gear by the drive wheels as well. Nice bit of detail to have that. The rear pony truck under the cab has some nice detail as well, with rivets with a cab step on, as well as the springs and axle box as well. We also have some nice little details on the running board, including this wheel arch and that little bit of detail by it. We also have some washout plugs and some lubricators there as well, and some more little bits of detail as well, which looks nice. We can't leave out the separately fitted metal handrail on the side of the model, and the pipework that runs under that as well, on this side of the model, that is. We also have a smaller, separately fitted metal handrail on the firebox there, as well as what look like more washout plugs. I just absolutely love the lining on the boiler bands. I mean, just look at that. The printing on that is just exquisite. We also have a very nice banjo dome fitted there. We also have some turned metal safety valves there, and a whistle made of plastic. Would have been nice if the whistle was also made out of turned metal, but at least there's a whistle there, so we can't really complain much. We also have glazing in the front cab windows, as we'd expect, and it is only just noticeable, but we have a gold trim around the windows there. We have more rivet details. We have some rivets in front of the cab there. We have some glazing in one of the cab windows, on the side, cab sides that is, on each end of the cab. And under the windows there we have a small fitted metal handrail. We also have some nice lining there, on the sides of the cab. We've also got the running number 60161 crisply printed on the sides, as well as what looks like a washout plug and a separately fitted metal handrail down the side of the cab, as well as rivets. And we do get a builder's plate, but there's no writing on it, it's just a printed yellow oval. Would have been nice if there'd been an actual builder's plate there with printing on it, but it's just a little thing there. There are loads of rivets on the cab roof, as well as some cab roof vents that are there but they don't open, but we don't really need them to have them opening. But they're nice though to have otherwise, but at least there's cab roof vents on the roof regardless, even if they don't open. So it's still nice that we got some. We can't leave out the drawbar connector, which attaches onto the tender, used to connect the loco to the tender. On the rear buffer beam by the cab we've got some rivet detail there, if rear buffer beam is the right term for this of course. And we've also got a running plate there as well, which is very nice. Moving on to the cab interior now. Now, there is detail there in the cab, but none of it is painted. But this is something you can paint myself, as I shall do. We also have some nice rivet detail there on the smoke box, as you can see, which, again, great bit of detail to have as always. The livery of the locomotive is just superb. The BR Express Passenger Blue livery is my all-time favourite BR livery, especially because blue happens to be my favourite personal colour, so makes sense. The application of the paint, it's spot on, there's no errors in the paint, it's all very nice and even and smooth, and the shade of blue is correct, and it's just a gorgeous livery. And this is the third BR Express Blue locomotive that I have in my collection. We also have some superb lining on the running plate there. That is just exquisite, just look at that. And then moving around to the other side of the locomotive, there are some detail differences that I shall be going through. First of all, we haven't got the pipework on this side of the locomotive under the metal handrail, which is accurate on the locomotive. We do have the washout plugs on this side of the locomotive, but we haven't got the lubricators, as you saw on the other side of the model. Then we've got these little bits of detail, which I believe is pipework, made of metal and very nicely done. Under the running plate we also have the reversing lever there, as you can see. And we also have some pipework underneath the running plate as well, as you can see. Moving on to the tender now, and there is actually a little bit of weight in the tender, but we don't expect it to be massively heavy, for obvious reasons, because the locomotive needs to have this in tow as well as the train. Again, gorgeous livery applied to the tender, same shade as blue it is with the locomotive, and again, nice even coat of paint, no errors in it. There are loads of rivets on the tender. We've also got some very nice crispy printed lining as well around the tender. And we have the BR early emblem there as well, printed in the middle of the tender, very crispy printed. And just look at the detail on that, that's just stunning. We have some separately fitted metal handrails there down the front of the tender. There's loads of detail on the tender frames, axle boxes and springs, and a few rivets. We also have a water scoop under the tender as well, which is designed to pick up water from the troughs. We have some detail in front of the tender, handles to transfer the water from the tender to the boiler, coal in the chute, as well as a few storage cabinets and so on. This is also the lug to, well, I'm going to call it a lug anyway, but that is where you fit the drawbar, which is where it slots over to connect the loco to the tender. And on the tender buffer beam, on the front tender buffer beam that is, see that gap in the middle? That is where you put the drawbar connector into, to fix it into that lug, as I just showed you. Moving on to the tender buffer beam, we have a coupling hook there fitted, and a NEM coupling just like on the front, as well as a hole for a brake pipe to fix into. And just like on the locomotive, we have sprung buffers fitted on the tender. Again, I don't have any care for sprung buffers, but they're there anyway, so they'll make you happy if you like them. We also have loads of rivets on the back of the tender. We've got a few separately fitted metal handrails there on the back of the tender, and also we have some steps on the back for the crew to climb up on top of the tender. And we have some electric headlights as well on the tender, with a lamp point attached to them. On top of the tender we have a water filler cap for the water to go into. It doesn't open, but it doesn't really need to, and if it did, it would probably make the model more expensive. Moving on to the coal load, which is indeed removable, as I will now demonstrate using a cocktail stick. As you can see, and there appears to be a bit of foam sheeting in there inside the tender. I didn't expect that. And so if you want to, you can fit a real coal load there in the tender, which is something I shall be doing later on. Now we come on to the running performance of the loco, which, as you can see, the model ran faultlessly around the layout, which is what we expect it to, and it comes straight out the box. No motors burning out or stuttering movements or anything like that. It should run nice and smooth. Moving on to the loaded test run, which the locomotive is seen pulling the rake of chocolate and cream couches around the layout, and there's a few blood and custard couches mixed in there as well. So overall then, whilst the Bachmann A1, I will be honest, is not a 100% perfect model, there are a few things on the model that could be improved, but despite that though, this still really is a fantastic model. And if you haven't got one of these, I would still recommend you get one, because they are very worth getting, and they make a great addition to anyone's collection. So overall, I'm going to rate the Bachmann Peppercorn A1 a 9 out of 10. This has been Class 47 Peter reviewing the Peppercorn A1 Pacific, and I'll see you again soon for the next review, but until then, take care and look after yourselves.